So with Robert Englund once again reprising the Freddy role on The Goldbergs, he once again said that he has probably one more Freddy movie in him. I already put this video up, but I'm going to repost it here just in case you missed it. This is my pitch for the last Robert Englund Freddy Krueger film. Let's get into it. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. Enjoy the video. Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another edition of the Pitch Reel. So if you're not really familiar with this, it's just kind of me gaffing sometimes. Sometimes I have a better outline for what I would like to see or the thing that I would really like to pitch, but mostly I'm talking about my favorite movies, video games, books, or whatever it is I'm talking about in any given video and giving you a pitch of what I would like to see. Something like a sequel or a prequel or some kind of continuation to that series. And today we're talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And really what I'm talking about right now, and you know, granted, this is all really off the top of my head, I would really like to see a sequel of the original Nightmare on Elm Street films. I'm talking about the very first 6, not New Nightmare, not Freddy vs. Jason, and not the remake that they made a couple years ago that no one really liked. I'm talking about that. How do you take that story and make it all make sense and give us the thing that we really need, plus setting it up for something a little bit different, and also trying to get away from Robert Englund's character, revamping Freddy for the new modern age. I would really like to see that, and I hope you guys would as well. But with that being said, I wanted to just basically get into this pitch because really I think if you're going to do this, if it's going to be a sequel to the original Nightmare on Elm Street films, you need Robert Englund back. I know he's getting up there in age. He doesn't want to actually be part of this show anymore or this franchise. I understand that, but you cannot do this movie without him. You can't remake it. They've seen that before. You really need him, even if it's just kind of pass the torch and be something a little bit different. We're going to need him for this film. And plus, since this is just my pitch, I'm going to put Heather Langenkamp in there because honestly, if you're going to have the original Freddy, you're going to need Nancy as well. So I know you're talking to me right now. You're like, wait, Mark, Nancy died in Dream Warriors. How are you going to put her in there? Well, we'll just get into that in the pitch. First off, I only really had the title for a long time. This is really, like I said, just off the top of my head. So I was really working off this title because I thought it was something that I would like to see, or at least a Nightmare on Elm Street title that I would like to see somewhere down the line. And that is Bride of Elm Street. No, not Nightmare, not anything else like that, but Bride of Elm Street. I think it really kind of makes sense. You have Freddy, you have Nancy. You're going to put them face to face one last time in order to bring the series to a closure and hopefully give us something more so that we can explore later down the line, bring Freddy into the modern age and everything else like that. So at least in my opinion, we have to start off on a modern day 2017, 2018, 2019, whenever they decide to make this movie, Elm Street in Springwood, Ohio. And you have Nancy. Now, she's a little bit middle-aged. She has 2 grown adult children. She lives on Elm Street or near it, but she doesn't necessarily talk about what happened in her past. There's this little darkness around her. Obviously, there's something haunting about her whenever she's on Elm Street. And to me, personally, I think it'd be best if she's made a career being somewhat of a realtor, selling houses on Elm Street. That way, we would actually be able to explore some of the places from the original films and get an idea of some of the things that we've seen throughout. Maybe certain things are haunting her. To me, this is really just kind of a dreamlike world for the most part. Everything looks a little too perfect, a little too bright and glamorous, at least the beginning. And everything's fine. She's not being haunted by Freddy. In fact, she doesn't even remember it. There's always just this dark thing from her past that she doesn't really like talking about. And every time someone kind of mentions it, she kind of gets a little weary about everything going on. One of the things we see as she's doing her job is she goes to the old houses. Maybe she takes a couple and goes to Glenn's house and she gets to see Glenn's old room, and it's covered in the blood from when Freddy dragged him into the bed and blood shot out or something else like that. Just a whole lot of different things you can do there. Seeing all the claw marks in the walls from other people's houses and everything else like that. I think that would be kind of the perfect way to reintroduce Freddy into her life. And as the movie goes on, this dreamlike perfected world of Springwood, Ohio on Elm Street really starts to take a turn for the worse. We get back to the dreamscape of the original where you had Freddy running running around chasing teenagers in this industrial environment with fire and steel everywhere. That's really what I would really like to do with this. You take a 180-degree turn from perfection down to dark and gritty. This is the Freddy from the original film. This is the Freddy that's super dark and heavy. This is God type of person. He's out for revenge. He's out for blood. He's out for Nancy throughout the film, and she has to kind of get away from him. The difference here is she's not asleep. None of this is happening when she's asleep. She's simply just awake at all given times, and Freddy just kind of makes his way into her life, clawing his way out of the woodwork and trying to reshape her entire reality. And we're starting to wonder, how is this happening? Freddy is only really supposed to attack people's dreams. He doesn't come into reality unless someone drags him into reality. How is this all playing out, and how does it connect to everything that we've seen thus far? And to me, I think the culmination of the film is that Nancy realizes that she's actually dying at the end of Dream Warriors. Because if you remember that film, Kristen had this power to bring everyone into dreams, and she even promised Nancy while Nancy was dying that she was going to dream her into this perfect dream. And she's kind of gone well on that promise. She's figured out a way to have Nancy at least live out her life in a relative peaceful state, as she's also trapped Freddy Krueger in there because they kind of died together. That's what really kind of makes sense. And as that's kind of wearing off, I think that's what's kind of bringing Krueger out of her. So what really seemed like reality is just Krueger coming into her dream and making it all kind of crazy again. But the cool thing here is we kind of take the Dream Warriors aspect as well, where Nancy realizes that she's actually in a dream and she starts fighting back with her own dream powers. Eventually, she realizes that she shaped this world before and she could reshape it, and she can actually use her powers to reshape Freddy himself because he's been trapped in there with her. So one of the things that we get is we start going from that industrial metallic and fire and brimstone look and feel that we got from the original films, and we start getting a little bit more cartoony. She decides that the way to fight Freddy and to make people not scared of him, because that's how he gets his powers, is to make him somewhat of a comedic character, because she realizes that she cannot take him and keep him in this dream forever, but if she can manipulate him using her dream powers, she actually will stop him from being relevant at any given stage in the future. So he might get out, but he'll get so corny and ridiculous that people were going to stop caring about him or being fearful of him, because he's just kind of a joke of his former self. So we kind of end this movie with him getting out, and basically at the start of part 4, but we see the downfall, maybe even a really short montage of just how crazy and ridiculous Freddy has gotten throughout those films, and why people aren't really necessarily okay with him or even remotely afraid of him at that point. We end at Freddy Goes to Hell, the end of the 6th film, and he's rejoined in this perfected world of Springwood, Ohio, on Elm Street that Nancy has created in her own dreamlike state, as she's basically forcing him to stay there. He absolutely has no more power over anyone. Everyone thinks he's a laughingstock, and she simply is the master of her own dreamscape right now, and he's forced to kind of be at her beck and call at every given point. So I know that's not really a great pitch, but it's what I really kind of came up with off the top of my head. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I actually really would like to see something like this. I'm sure there's a lot of different things that you can come up with. One of the things I would say here is maybe you end with some kind of a cliffhanger where Freddy realizes how he can get, different, or he can become scary again. And that way you can kind of pass the torch with someone who takes over from Robert Englund and doesn't really look the same, or might even look the same, scarier, a little bit more dark or anything. So he gets into the modern world, and then we get to see Freddy kind of react to the modern world or something else like that. But it's basically a sequel to the original ones, and he figures out a different way to come back that's different from Freddy vs. Jason or New Nightmare or anything else like that, or simply even just rebooting it. Everything from the original film still happens. This is the reason why Freddy got way more comedic as the films went on and didn't really keep that gritty, dark feel that he had. Nancy was manipulating him the entire time. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more of these pitch videos going into the future. I hope everyone enjoyed the pitch. I hope everyone has a good day. It's been real.